My younger sister's grades are incredibly bizarre. When I score 500, she hits 510. If I jump to 600, hers instantly becomes 610. Her score is always exactly 10 points higher than mine. But the moment I skip an exam, her grades instantly go into a freefall. That was the moment my theory was finally proven. My sister's grades are bound directly to mine. With this in mind, a completely insane idea flashed in my head. If I score over 740 on the finals, will my little sister drop dead on the spot? Before the college entrance exam, I studied like an unstoppable, tireless machine. Meanwhile, my sister spent every single day partying and slacking off. She relied entirely on having, which was me, acting completely lawless and arrogant. She even ditched school to run wild with a bad crowd. Every single time she got caught, she would roll her eyes and snap, "You guys are so annoying." Don't worry, I am definitely going to be top scorer. And I never let her down during any of our practice exams. I steadily carried her all the way to the top rank. I wanted her to stay up on that fake pedestal, living in a total fantasy. Me was silently edging closer to 741. The final semester of senior year felt like a dull knife, slowly scraping and carving away at my sanity. Waking up every day before the sun rose, sleeping only when midnight rolled around. Aside from eating and quick bathroom breaks, I only solved practice papers. I locked myself away in that room, a tiny space that never saw any sunlight. I functioned like a machine that never stopped. Next door, in the best room, I occasionally heard her chatting away on the phone with her friends, or her loud, obnoxious laughter while watching movies. Sometimes, she would purposely crank the volume up high, as if she was showing off to me, showing off how untouchable she really was. But I did not care. I had long since learned to tune out everything. My mind held only one number: 741. This number was like a nail driven into my heart. Whenever I wanted to quit, I would press on it, using the sharp pain to stay awake. Then came March. Lamb Tutu started dropping by my room all the time. At first, I didn't really notice. Figured she was just looking for something. But soon, I realized something was off. The way she looked at me changed. Her eyes were full of suspicion and calculation. Once, while I was solving the last math problem on a test, she stood right behind me. She stared at my scratch paper for a long time. "Brother, why have you been studying so hard lately?" I didn't look up or stop writing. Just getting by. College exams are coming up. Why wouldn't I study, right? Lamb Tutu leaned in a bit closer, trying to get a better look at my work. But in the past, you never worked this hard. My heart skipped a beat, but I kept a straight face and let out a sigh. Pretending to be exhausted, I said, "What do you think?" Mom and Dad said, "If I don't get into a good school, they'll cut off my allowance." Lamb Tutu's tense face instantly relaxed. A mocking smirk even began to play on her lips. "You honestly think someone like you can get into college?" She turned to leave, tossing one last smug remark: "Don't try too hard. After all, I'm still going to be the top scorer." I silently watched her leave and said nothing. Once the door clicked shut, I picked up my pen. A smirk crossed my face. "Good. Keep acting exactly like that. The more you underestimate me, the safer I am." But Lamb Tutu's high level of alertness didn't fade away completely. Over the next few days, she constantly pried into my study progress, both openly and secretly. She would ask me which subject was hardest and what score I got on mock exams. Sometimes she would make incredibly snide remarks right to my face, trying to shake my mental focus. I just adapted on the fly. During every mock test, I intentionally controlled my score, making sure I never stood out. I stayed in the school's top 5, enough to fly under the radar without raising her suspicion. My real trump card was hidden deep inside. The absolute hardest practice problems, the trickiest and most complex techniques, I only practiced them alone late at night. Once done, I shredded the scratch paper and flushed it, leaving absolutely no trace behind. One evening, I was working on advanced Olympiad papers. Suddenly, I heard a noise in the living room. It was my mom and Lin Xiaoxiao chatting. I quietly cracked the door open to eavesdrop. "Xiaoxiao, is your brother feeling too stressed out lately? He locks himself in his room every single day. He won't even come out to eat." Lin Xiaoxiao sneered. "What are you worried about, Mom? No matter how hard he tries, it's useless. No matter what score he gets on the exam, I'll always score 10 points higher anyway. The harder he studies, the higher my score gets, right?" "You're so right. My daughter is always the smartest, so just let him keep studying. He can just be your stepping stone." Hearing this, I clenched my fists. My fingernails dug deep into my palms, but I forced myself to stay calm. Gently, I shut the door and went back to studying. One evening in April, I was working on practice tests in my room as usual, when I heard a faint sound outside my door. I strained my ears to listen closely. They were incredibly soft footsteps, as if trying not to be heard. Then came the sound of the doorknob turning. It was agonizingly slow. I instantly realized that Lin Xiaoxiao was spying on me. Without looking back, I kept pretending to be intensely focused on my work, but in reality, I had already swapped my prep paper for a basic homework sheet, filled with easy, basic questions. The advanced study, materials that were actually difficult, were already locked away inside my drawer, hidden in the deepest corner. The door cracked open just a tiny bit. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of Lin Xiaoxiao's face. She was staring at my desk. I let out a deliberate, heavy sigh, and muttered to myself, how did I get this question wrong again? This is way too hard. The door quietly clicked shut. As her footsteps faded away, I stood up straight, letting out a cold laugh. Lin Xiaoxiao, the more defensive you get, the guiltier you look. You know this better than anyone. Those high scores don't belong to you. You are just a parasite. Without me, you're absolutely nothing. In the late May exam, I scored 690. Lin Xiaoxiao got 700, ranking first. When the results dropped, she threw a massive celebration at home. Our parents crowded around, showering her with questions, praising her for making the family proud. The dinner table was packed with her favorite dishes. I sat quietly in a corner, eating my dinner. Like an invisible ghost, Dad put down his chopsticks, looking satisfied as he watched Lin Xiaoxiao. Xiaoxiao, you did incredibly well this time. Keep this up, and a top university is practically guaranteed. That is my daughter for you, absolutely brilliant. Well, she gets her great genes from us, right? Lin Xiaoxiao shot a smug glance in my direction. Her lips curled into a mocking smirk. Hey, brother, you really need to try harder. Don't let me leave you too far behind. Otherwise, our parents will lose face. I muttered a response, choosing not to argue. I kept eating, laughing coldly inside. Just enjoy it while you can, because this is going to be your absolute last moment of glory. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to fall asleep. My mind kept running through every scenario of the 2 exam days, everything that could possibly happen. The June college entrance exam arrived. On the night of June 6th, Lin Xiaoxiao went out drinking with her friends, claiming she wanted to celebrate early. Mom didn't stop her, even handing her a stack of cash. My daughter has worked so hard. Go relax a bit. I watched this through the crack in my door. My heart didn't even ripple. I just found it incredibly ironic. As for me, I was already in bed by 8. My alarm was set for 6 the next morning. Lying in bed, I felt strangely calm, like a swordsman waiting to draw his blade. Every single drop of my patience will finally pay off tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up right on time. I grabbed a quick bite of breakfast and headed out. Mom drove Lin Xiaoxiao to her exam center. Just a casual word with me is fine. I nodded, not saying another word. Deep down, I knew this was the last time. After today, our paths would never cross again. The exam room was in the old building. My seat was on the 3rd floor by the window. The warm sunlight streamed right in. I sat down and laid out my stationery. Taking a deep breath, I closed my eyes, telling myself, you have waited 18 years for this very day. Don't screw up this Chinese literature exam. The bell rang the moment I flipped the test open. My mind was clearer than ever before. Every single question felt like an old friend. Every trap in the reading comprehension section, I had already seen them coming. The essay topic was exactly what I had practiced countless times. My pen flew across the paper with divine inspiration. Literature exam was finally exiting the room. Lin Xiaoxiao immediately ran over to block me. She was wearing heavy makeup, but there was a hidden flicker of panic in her eyes. She asked how I did. I told her it was fine. Lin Xiaoxiao frowned, demandingly asking what okay actually meant. How many questions did you miss? Looking at her, I suddenly found it quite amusing. She was trying to figure out my score, just to calculate her own ranking. No idea. The answers are not out. Lin Xiaoxiao curled her lip, deeply unsatisfied with this vague reply, but she did not push further. As she walked away, I stared at her back and thought, what is the big rush anyway? The results will be out tomorrow. By then, someone will definitely be panicking. That afternoon, during the math exam, disaster struck as my stomach suddenly began to hurt intensely. Maybe it was from some bad breakfast food, or perhaps from the immense stress, causing cold sweat to break out. I collapsed onto the desk and needed a few seconds to recover. The proctor walked over and whispered to me, are you okay? Do you need the nurse's office? I shook my head. Gritting my teeth, I growled, I am fine. Are you kidding me? I have waited 18 years just for this exam. Even if I collapse, I will die right on this test paper. I dug my nails into my thigh. The intense pain helped me temporarily ignore my aching stomach, and I kept writing. The numbers and formulas kept blurring right in front of me, but I pushed through, relying purely on muscle memory. knocking out the questions one by one. The very last question. For the hardest question, I used 3 different methods to check. No errors found. Only then did I put my pen down and leave. I was completely exhausted. I found a quiet corner to squat down, to catch my breath. Lam Tu Tu sent a text, asking how the math exam went. I just texted back 2 words. Just fine. She immediately shot back with a smug emoji. She clearly thought she had it in the bag. Staring at that emoji, I just found it funny. Ignorance truly is bliss. That fits her perfectly. The next day of exams, it was physics and English. My condition had mostly recovered by then. These 2 subjects were my absolute strength, especially physics. Those big, complex calculation questions, the chemical reactions and genetic biology, were all things I had practiced a million times before. My pen literally flew across the paper. I even had 20 minutes left to double check. I carefully went over every single question twice, making absolutely sure there wasn't a single error. As for the English exam, even a strict grader couldn't find a reason to dock points. Finishing the very last subject, I walked out of the classroom. I stood right by the classroom doorway and looked up at the sky. The sunlight was blinding, but I didn't look away. I just stood there, standing tall, letting the sun hit my face directly. 18 long years, and I finally made it through. Lam Tu Tu was the first to run over and block me. Today, she dressed in showy colors, strutting around like a proud peacock. Greed flashed in her eyes as she asked how I did. Great. Better than ever before. I have never done this well in my whole life. Lin Xiaoxiao's eyes lit up instantly, like she was staring at a mountain of gold. She spun around and ran to brag to our parents. He said he did incredibly well on the test. So, mine is definitely better. I watched her run off in pure joy. I smiled too. It was the cold smile of a hunter watching his prey fall into a trap. Lin Xiaoxiao, do you even know what you look like right now? Like a moth diving straight into the fire. You think it's the warm sun of summer after the college entrance exams. Lin Xiaoxiao completely let herself go. She proudly assured our parents she would rank top in the entire province, while also demanding a massive advance on her allowance. Not only did she upgrade her phone and computer to the absolute best models, she even took the money our parents worked hard to save, hanging out with bad influences to blow it all on a wild spree. Her social media was packed daily with photos of her partying hard, without a single care in the world. Then, one evening, I scrolled past one of her posts, a photo of her dining at some fancy restaurant, with a caption celebrating early as the new top scorer. Below it was a flood of likes and comments. I stared at those comments, finding the whole thing completely absurd. I want to visit Grandpa in the countryside, asking my parents for some travel money. Before I could even finish, my mom cut me off. She didn't even bother to look up at me. Her tone was completely dismissive. Visit? Why bother? We're out of cash. Can't you see Xiao Xiao needs it right now? I stared at her shameless, indifferent face. I felt completely disgusted inside, not giving me a single penny. While for Lin, Xiao Xiao, they threw cash around. These are my parents. Dad was sitting on the couch watching TV. Without even turning around, he chimed in. If you want to go, then figure it out yourself. Don't expect anything from us. Saying nothing more, I turned and went back to my room. Early the next morning, I went to a construction site for work, hauling heavy bricks under the scorching sun, baked by the heat until dizzy. But I gritted my teeth and endured for 2 weeks, just to save up enough travel fare and a gift for Grandpa. 2 weeks. Those were some of the most grueling days of my life. After 2 weeks, I had earned over 1,000 yuan, enough for travel expenses and some health supplements for Grandpa on Father's Day. By sheer coincidence, it was also Lin Xiaoxiao's 18th coming-of-age party. To make sure she could stand before everyone and be crowned during her life's most glorious moment, she went ahead and threw an incredibly lavish party. Every single relative, along with Mom's colleagues and bosses, were invited. Inside the hall, endless congratulations echoed through the air. A distant relative raised a glass of wine, walked up to Dad, and smiled warmly, saying, Brother Lin, your family is truly blessed to have twins who are both so incredibly outstanding. Another relative quickly chimed in to agree, with a slightly sarcastic tone. The oldest son is really just a bookworm, not very thoughtful. Xiao Xiao is the sweet one, so smart and quick-witted, 100 times better than her brother. The younger crowd crowded around Lin Xiao Xiao like stars around the moon. A younger cousin was even green with envy. Sister Xiao Xiao, you are just so amazing. In one hand, you an offer from Tsinghua, and in the other, a very handsome boyfriend. You are a total winner in life. Hurry up and check your score. We want to witness the historic moment of the top scorer. No rush. If you are in the province's top tier, the admissions office is up. Tsinghua and Peking University will call you first to secure you. Just as she said that, a phone suddenly rang, but it wasn't calling her, it was calling me. Under the completely stunned gazes of everyone there, I started receiving call after call from the admissions office of the prestigious Tsinghua, the admissions office of Peking University, and even recruiters from several other top-tier universities across the country, begging me to carefully consider their offers. Lin Xiaoxiao stared wide-eyed, her eyes fixed, unblinkingly at her smartphone, which showed absolutely no signs of life. Trying to save face, she gritted her teeth and uttered a single phrase, that the best always comes last. Finally, the exam results portal opened up, and everyone crowded around, urging Xiao Xiao to log in. Meanwhile, I quietly opened the lookup page in a corner. Although I was certain of my success, at that moment, my palms were still slightly slick with sweat. Mom turned to ask me first. Her tone was completely indifferent. She wanted to know my score. I showed my phone screen to everyone in the room and calmly said, I scored 741 points. The room erupted. I suppressed the overwhelming wave of joy in my heart, keeping my face blank. I did it. I actually succeeded. Mom froze for a second, then gave a stiff nod. Without another glance, she spun back toward Lin Xiaoxiao. Her voice shook with excitement as she urged, Quick! Xiaoxiao must be higher. Poor Xiaoxiao was cornered, and with nowhere to run, she tremblingly clicked confirm. The next second, her face froze. Her expression was priceless, like she had just swallowed a fly. The screen clearly showed those 3 red digits, 751. Lin Xiaoxiao's voice trembled. The room fell dead silent. A clueless, distant relative who did not know any better, it was still praising her. Oh, 751 points, 10 points higher than her brother. Xiao Xiao is a genius. But if I remember correctly, the maximum score on the college entrance exam is only 750. The atmosphere instantly froze solid. The girl panicked. Cold sweat began ruining her heavy, delicate makeup. Surely it is a system glitch. Too many people are checking. The site crashed. She frantically refreshed the page. Her finger almost stabbed through the screen once, twice, 3 times. But that cursed 751 was still nailed firmly in the total score slot. Someone suggested trying another phone just to check. Lin Xiaoxiao grabbed onto this like a lifeline. She snatched someone else's phone, but the score was still 751. That impossible score slapped her right across the face. Right at that moment, the banquet hall doors burst open and uniformed police officers marched in, alongside highly serious officials from the local Department of Education. The lead officer scanned the room. He asked coldly, Who here is Lin Xiaoxiao? The exam board flagged a major score anomaly. We suspect a system hack and severe exam fraud. Please come with us to the station for questioning. Lin Xiaoxiao was so terrified her knees buckled and she collapsed. She looked pale as a ghost. Her parents panicked when they saw this, but their first instinct was not to comfort her. Instead, they instinctively looked for a scapegoat. In her panic, my mother suddenly shoved me forward. She pointed at me and screamed, She did it! She was jealous of her sister and hacked the database. She altered the scores. Officers, you must investigate her. My daughter has absolutely nothing to do with this. And there it is. These are my actual parents. Without a second thought, they always use me as a shield. No matter how absurd and completely illogical the excuse, as long as it saves their precious, golden daughter, sacrificing me means nothing to them. My heart is completely dead. Yet, I only feel pure relief. I brush my mother's hand away. I stare coldly at this pathetic clown show. I am no hacker. I am the top science scorer in the province, Lin Tian. The miracle score of 751 belongs to Xiao Xiao over there. My father lunges forward in a rage to slap me. I immediately catch his wrist in a tight grip. My icy glare terrifies him. Go ahead. Just try touching me. The authorities are standing right behind me. Right now, I am wanted by Tsinghua and Peking while the media fights to cover my story. Touch me and see what happens. From this moment on, absolutely no one in this house will ever control me again. And absolutely nobody is going to bully me again. This coming-of-age party meant for bragging has completely turned into a total circus. Lam Tiu Tiu was taken in for questioning, leaving behind an absolute mess. There was no way to cover this up. A 751 on the college entrance exam? The topic immediately exploded online, claiming the #1 trending spot that the entire internet was glued to their screens, waiting for the drama. Some called it a joke, saying her greed finally backfired on her. She probably went way overboard buying her score. Others joked that if you cheat, you should at least use your brain. The maximum score is 750. Scoring 751 is just insulting. The examiners, Or is she insulting the entire system? It took no time for people to track down Lam Tuo's social media accounts, only to find out she spent the last 6 months partying and traveling without studying a single thing. The public immediately turned on Lam Tuo. Everyone was convinced she used connections to fake her exam score, but somehow, they accidentally overdid the. As I scrolled through those comments, an indescribable wave of pure satisfaction washed over me. 18 years. I had waited for this exact moment for 18 years. Finally, everyone was about to see the truth. The official investigation results came out incredible. Turns out, Tutu's answer sheet had a major issue. Somehow, the scanner registered an extra point on her multiple choice section compared to which made her total score incorrect. Although there was no direct evidence to prove, she tampered with the answer sheet. To ensure absolute fairness, the education board decided to use a backup exam and force her to retake it alone. When the news reached her home, Lam Tuo was lounging on the couch, scrolling her phone. Hearing she had to retake it, she bolted upright. Her face instantly drained of color. What do you mean, retake? Why on earth do I have to retake it? My score is real. The system is the one that glitched. Her dad sat nearby, pale and whispering in a harsh tone, "Keep it down, the neighbors will hear you." Her mother paced anxiously, trying to comfort Lam Tuo, while brainstorming a plan. Tuo was panicking, so she retakes it. She is so smart anyway. She will be fine. But Tutu was absolutely losing her mind. Throwing a massive tantrum at home, screaming and crying, she demanded that I take the exam with her. He just has to come with me. I want him right by my side. She lunged forward and grabbed my arm, digging her nails deep into my skin with bloodshot, terrifying eyes. You have to take the test with me tomorrow. Do you hear me? I shoved her hand away and spoke with an icy tone. I'm already done. Why on earth should I retake it with you? Tutu stared at me in shock, her eyes filled with complete disbelief. It seemed she never imagined I would actually say no to her. Mom immediately stepped in to defend her, snapping, "What is with that attitude? Your sister is going through this and you cannot even help her? Son, this is about saving face for our entire family. What is the harm in taking the test with her just this once?" Looking at them, I found the whole thing both hilarious and pathetic. The family reputation? No. This is all about Tiu saving her own skin. None of this drama has anything to do with me anyway. I flatly rejected them and walked straight back to my room and locked the door. Ignoring all the aggressive pounding and screaming from outside, I simply refused to open the door. Naturally, the education board immediately threw out her ridiculous request. Ultimately, with the eyes of the entire city locked on her, Tutu had to sit for the retake completely alone. Her testing room was set up right inside the municipal education headquarters. Security cameras were running 24/7. Plus, 3 exam proctors closely watched her every move, making absolutely sure she could not pull any cheap tricks. Unsurprisingly, she ended up failing the exam in spectacular fashion. Her final score was just 157. That is even lower than if she had just guessed randomly. Her actual skill level only amounted to 300 anyway. She spent the last 6 months focusing only on daydreaming about being a top student, without ever cracking open a book. When the results dropped, I was hauling bricks at a construction site. Suddenly, I got a text from a classmate saying Tutu only got 157 points. I froze for a second, then burst out laughing. My coworkers thought I got heat stroke and handed me a bottle of water. I waved them off, saying I was fine, just incredibly happy. This retake exam completely stripped away the veil hiding her lies. From 751 down to 157. The crazy contrast made the internet completely blow up. Every single comment from the netizens was brutally sharp. Someone wrote that 157 is her true skill level. Another person posted that the truth is now clear as day. That previous 751 score was definitely fake. Lin Xiaoxiao could not handle the relentless online attacks, desperately trying to share her old report cards to prove her innocence, but the internet instantly exposed all of her lies. Her sudden massive improvement in the middle of senior year, especially since her older scores were stuck at 300. Now everyone was absolutely certain. This girl had been cheating since her senior year started. Meanwhile, netizens even dug up my own academic records. From primary school to high school, every single one of my major exam scores was exposed. I had always ranked in the top 3. This is what a real genius looks like, solid as a rock. One comment asked if we were actually real siblings. How is the gap so massive? Another wrote that one of us is a top scorer, while the other struggles to get average marks. I stared at those comments online. My mind was a complete mess. I once believed that getting good grades would make my parents proud, but I eventually realized that no matter how high my scores were, I would never measure up to Lin Xiaoxiao in their eyes, because they never wanted an outstanding son in the first place. They just wanted a tool to shield their precious daughter. All the teachers and friends who used to praise Lin Xiaoxiao now avoided her like the plague. And even my parents got pointed at outside. Neighbors gossiped behind their backs, saying their daughter turned out to be completely useless. She only relied on cheating to fool everyone for so long. It was a total disgrace back then. Lin Xiaoxiao hid in her room, terrified of seeing anyone, living like a despised street rat. With curtains drawn, she made mom leave meals at her doorstep. She refused to see anyone. As for me, holding my admission letter to the elite medical school in Beijing, I packed my bags and headed to the countryside with Grandpa. I only had to wait until school started in late August. Then, I would finally be I always thought summer in the countryside was blistering hot, like a stifling sauna, yet I felt incredibly peaceful. Grandpa's old house sat right at the mountain's foot, a simple 3-room mud cottage with an old pagoda tree outside. Thick smoke drifted from the wood stove, but never bothered me. For as long as I could remember, this was my true home. I had basically been dumped here. My parents claimed the fresh country air was perfect for my health, but in reality, they just found me to be an annoying burden. They wanted Lam Tiu Tu to hoard all of their love and attention. Having me around just meant another mouth to compete with them. Yet Grandpa never said a single bad word about them. He just quietly took care of me, teaching me how to read and write, always telling me that a man must stand on his own. His most frequent piece of advice was, studying is the only way out for poor kids like us. I engraved those words deep into my very bones. I stayed there for over 20 days, waking up early every morning to help him feed chickens. I would spend my mornings studying in the yard and follow him out to the fields every afternoon. By nightfall, we relaxed under the old pagoda tree. He would share stories about the old days, like how mischievous my dad used to be as a kid, or how hard my mom worked when she first married in. Listening to those unfamiliar stories felt so strange. It almost felt like I was hearing about another family, mainly because in my own memories, my parents had never been those kinds of people. One evening, as we sat cooling off in the yard, the moonlight was incredibly bright. Grandpa suddenly asked how I did on the college entrance exams. I paused before replying honestly that I thought I did well. Grandpa simply nodded. Deep within his cloudy eyes, a faint light flickered as he looked at the moon. After a quiet moment, he said, "That is good. That is good." He sighed, his voice sounding slightly raspy. "I have achieved absolutely nothing in my entire life. You are my only hope." I bowed my head. My eyes welled up. In my entire life, he was the only one who ever spoke to me like that. Only you genuinely want what is best for me. Grandpa, just wait until I pass. After university, I will get a job and bring you to live in the city. He waved his hand, insisting he is not used to city life. Just knowing you care is enough, grandson. That night, I lay on the clay bed in the old house, listening to the insects outside the window, thinking to myself, once the exam results are out, everything will be settled. I am going to show them all that I, Lam Thien, am not some worthless nobody to let others bully, and I am not a stepping stone for anyone. August 12th. Only half a month until school starts. I was in the yard helping my grandfather dry corn, dumping basket after basket of bright golden corn onto the bamboo mat, spreading them out when my phone suddenly rang. It was my mother. Stunned, she almost never initiated contact with me on her own. Her last phone call was right before my university entrance exam, asking what score I would get in a calculating, prying voice. She was always scheming. I answered, and heard someone crying on the other end. My mother's voice was hoarse and frantic. "Hurry up and come home. Your father is extremely sick and might not make it." My heart sank instantly. The sickle in my hand almost slipped to the ground. I asked what happened and which hospital they were at, but she just sobbed. She ignored my questions, only repeating over and over to come back home. "Hurry home." And then she hung up. I stood there frozen, my mind spinning with confusion. My grandfather walked out of the house. I explained the situation to him. His expression immediately darkened as well. He urged me to pack up and go back, saying that no matter what, he is still your father. You should go check on him. I nodded. I ran to my room, throwing some clothes into a backpack. Before I left, he rushed over and shoved a cloth bundle into my hand. It felt heavy. "Take this," he said. "This is the money I saved up for emergencies." I opened it to find a stack of crumpled, dirty small bills. Altogether, it was about 2,000. This was money from selling eggs and vegetables, saved bit by bit for his retirement fund. I tried giving it back, but he had already gone inside. Her hunched figure in the doorway looked strangely thin. I clutched the cloth bundle, feeling my eyes well up. The bus from our village to town takes 2 hours. From town to the city is a 3-hour train ride. Once there, I transfer trains again. Taking the express, the whole journey takes 10 hours. I booked the very next bus out, bouncing along in this shaky bus. The scenery outside the window whipped past quickly, but my mind finally started to calm down. No, wait. Something is seriously wrong here. My mother's crying was way too dramatic. So fake, it felt like she was acting. Besides, she never said what was wrong with Dad, or even which hospital he was in. She did not even explain his condition. She just kept begging me to come home. If he was truly critically ill, she would have told me which hospital he was at. Tell me to rush there, not to just go home. Go home where? If he was in the emergency room right now, how would she have time to call me from home? And her voice, her tone carried a strange, desperate kind of urgency, but it did not sound like worry for her husband. It felt more like fear that I would not return. This is too weird. I dialed my dad's phone number. Busy. I tried calling again, but still busy. So I tried another route and called my dad's coworker. He was someone I had met a few times. I politely asked about my dad. Has something bad happened to him recently? The man sounded completely taken aback. Your dad just treated us all to dinner last week. He is doing great. Why? Oh, nothing. I must have misheard. I made up an excuse and quickly hung up. They were definitely lying. Leaning back, I watched the endless mountains roll past my window. The heavy weight in my chest finally lifted. I am not cold-blooded. I just know my family too well. If my dad was actually in critical danger, Lin Xiaoxiao would have been crying all over social media, playing the victim just to get sympathy. They would never be this quiet. But if this whole thing is a setup, what exactly are they trying to trap me into? It took me a few hours to fully process everything. The answer was crystal clear, especially regarding Lin Xiaoxiao. What a massive uproar. That 751 score joke is still trending on the search rankings. Even repeating a year won't get her into a decent school, because without me, she is absolutely nothing. While I am heading to Tsinghua University to start a brand new life, completely escaping this toxic swamp. But I know they won't just let that happen. To them, the only value of my existence is to serve as a stepping stone for Lin Xiaoxiao, to be a mere tool and blood bag. Once I realized this, surprisingly, I didn't feel panicked anymore. I even felt a strange sense of calm, just like a patient hunter waiting for his prey to fall into the trap. But this time, the hunter and the prey are swapping places. If you guys want to put on a show, then I'll happily play along with you until the end, but I'll be the one writing the final act. On the train, using the money he gave me, I bought a cheap spare backup phone, along with a portable power bank. After charging both of my phones to full, I downloaded a video recording app that automatically uploads to the cloud, testing it 3 times. To ensure 0 mistakes, I also reached out to some university students, a few future roommates I had met in our class group. I sent a message briefly explaining my current situation, telling them if 48 hours passed without hearing from me, please call the police for me. I also shared my real-time location with them. Better safe than sorry. Man, bro, your family situation is so crazy complex. Don't worry, we've got your back. Just stay calm. If anything goes wrong, we'll call the cops immediately. Stay safe. Keep in touch. I stared at those warm messages and felt a sudden wave of warmth in my heart. Even strangers I've never met were willing to help me, while my so-called flesh and blood wanted to push me straight into a living hell. This world is truly ironic. By the time I got back, it was already dusk the next day. The sunset painted the old apartment building in a faded gold. Dragging my suitcase, I stood downstairs and looked up at my home of 12 years. A place that had never once given me a sense of belonging. Taking a deep breath, I walked upstairs and knocked on the door. The door opened, revealing my mother's face. Her eyes were red, like she had just been crying. She froze the moment she saw me, but she quickly forced a warm, welcoming smile. Oh, Xiao Tian, you are finally back home now. Come inside. Her sudden, unusual warmth made my skin crawl. In my entire life, she had never been this nice to me. I stepped inside, keeping my face completely blank. I quickly scanned the living room. Dad was sitting on the couch, remote in hand, watching TV. He looked perfectly fine. Nothing about him looked like a medical emergency. I stood at the entrance. My hand was still gripping my suitcase handle. I calmly asked why they said Dad was sick. Why is he just sitting here watching TV? The air in the room suddenly turned icy cold. Dad looked up, throwing a quick glance my way. His expression looked incredibly awkward and uncomfortable. My mother's fake smile instantly froze on her face. She quickly tried to backpedal. Oh, it was a false alarm. Yesterday your dad really was sick. But after going to the hospital, the checkup showed it was nothing serious. We knew you were leaving for Tsinghua University soon, so we wanted to get together as a family. Hearing her say those words, as a family, felt incredibly ironic. I did not expose her, just nodded. I just nodded. Walking in, out of the corner of my eye, I spotted Lin Xiaoxiao sitting at the other end of the couch. She was curled up in a corner with messy hair. Her face looked pale with deep, dark circles under her eyes. Just a few months ago, she was a spoiled, pampered girl. Totally unlike it was night and day. Seeing me enter, she looked up, with a complicated expression, filled with resentment and fear, and something else I could not quite figure out. I ignored her completely and went straight to my bedroom to unpack. My room sits at the end of the hall. It is barely 10 square meters. No sunlight ever reaches it. When I was young, it was a storage room. Later, I moved back from Grandpa's place to attend. It was only half cleaned, a temporary setup for me. Lin Xiaoxiao's room faces south. The master bedroom is massive and bright. The hierarchy in this house was obvious. It has never been so crystal clear. I locked the door and started checking the room. Desk, bookshelf, wardrobe, and under the bed. Checking everything one by one to make sure nothing was touched. Then, I pulled out a spare phone from deep inside my backpack. Finding a hidden spot, I tucked it away among the clutter on the shelf. The lens pointed straight at the door, recording everything. I switched it to silent, ensuring absolutely no notification sounds would ever give me away. Once that was done, I lay on the bed, faking sleep while keeping my ears sharp. I wanted to catch every sound from the living room. For dinner, Mom cooked up a massive feast. It was rare for her to invite me to eat, even piling food onto my plate. "You are so thin, Xiaotian. You're leaving soon, so eat up." But the food tasted like cardboard. My mind was too busy figuring out what they were actually planning. When would they finally show their true colors? After dinner, Dad coughed and cleared his throat, getting ready to lecture me. "As usual, we called you back because there is something we need to discuss. Here it comes." I looked up, pretending to be confused. "It is about your sister. She hasn't been doing well lately. You already know about how much that college entrance exam affected her. She is completely devastated now. She won't even leave her room. Your mother and I talked, and since you are her brother and her closest family member, could you spend some more time by her side? To encourage her, right?" I waited for them to show their hand. Sure enough, Mom spoke up. Her voice had an inquiring tone. "That is right. Xiao Tian, you two are twins. You share the same blood and a deep bond. So what is wrong with helping your sister out a bit?" I stayed silent, keeping my eyes locked on them. A tense silence filled the room. Suddenly, Lin Xiaoxiao snapped her head up, staring at me with tearful eyes, choking back tears. She sobbed, "Brother, I was wrong. Please? I have really thought things over lately. Before, I was completely in the wrong. I should never have treated you that way. Can you please give me one more chance?" I almost burst out laughing. Her acting skills have really improved. But too bad I am not buying it. I asked them what they actually wanted from me, exposing their little act right then. I had zero patience to dance around the truth. Mom and Dad looked at each other. As if confirming something, Dad finally laid his cards on the table. "Here is the deal. Your mother and I found a way to help Xiao Xiao get a chance at college, too." I raised an eyebrow, signaling him to continue. "Xiao Xiao told us about that whole college exam score thing. That 10-point rule or whatever it is. You probably understand it better than us. There is a very special connection between you two. As long as you are around, she gets high scores." My heart skipped a beat. She actually told them my secret. Dad stood up and walked right over to me. His voice left no room for argument. "So, your mother and I have decided. Can you postpone going to Tsinghua or Peking University for a year? Just repeat 1 year. Take the exam next year with Xiao Xiao. That way she can get into a good school too. Our house will have 2 top university students. Won't that bring pride to our family?" I froze. Not because I was shocked by this absurd request, but rather shocked by their absolute audacity. They asked so casually, as if it was the most natural thing ever, as if throwing away my entire future for Lin Xiao Xiao was completely natural. Mom eagerly stepped up and grabbed my hands. Her eyes flashed with sly calculation. "Xiao Tian, this is not going to hurt you at all. You are so smart, you will definitely get in next year. And you will still be the top scorer. Just 1 more year of exam prep. Tsinghua and Peking will definitely fight to get you. And this way, Xiao Xiao gets a bright future too. Isn't this a happy ending for the whole family? But my admission letter is already here. Why do I have to study again?" My dad dismissed it with a wave. "What is an admission letter anyway? If you don't go, it gets cancelled. Xiao Tian, you are the older brother. What is wrong with letting your sister have it? When Xiao Xiao becomes successful, she won't forget you. You will get a share of the money she makes." That was the funniest joke I had ever heard. I said, "I don't agree." Dad's face darkened, and Mom's expression instantly froze. Lin Xiao Xiao suddenly snapped her head up. Her pleading eyes instantly turned dark and gloomy. Dad stood up, glaring down at me with a threatening voice. Just what is with your attitude today? We are trying to discuss this nicely, so why reject us immediately? You want me to give up Tsinghua and Peking? To study again with someone who only scored 157? And then use my score to get her into that school? On what grounds? Just because she happens to be my sister? You are her older brother. Helping your sister is only natural. I have already helped her for 18 years. Since we were children, you have given absolutely everything to her. While I was dumped in the countryside and ignored, now that she ruined everything on her own, you finally decide to remember me and force me to sacrifice my future to clean up her mess. Dad slammed his hand on the table, shouting, Lin Tian, what is with your attitude? You want to know my attitude? This is it. No. I turned and went back to my room. Behind me, Lin Xiaoxiao screamed like a madwoman. Lin Tian, why are you doing this? Those exam scores were supposed to be mine. Without me, you are absolutely nothing. Lin Xiaoxiao, listen to me loud and clear. I earned every single one of those points stroke by stroke. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. If you can leech off my scores, that is your good fortune. It is definitely not your own ability, and it is certainly not a bargaining chip to force me. My words left Lin Xiaoxiao utterly speechless. Tears welled up in her eyes. Hard to tell if it was anger or anxiety. Mom rushed over to shield her, pointing her finger and yelling at me. Lam Tien, how could you make your sister so angry? Do you even have a conscience? I didn't bother arguing. I just walked back into my room. I locked the door behind me. Outside, things were crashing. Dad was screaming, Mom was sobbing, and the noise kept building. Even Lam Tutu's shrieks were mixed into the chaotic noise. It was like a boiling pot. Leaning against the door, I closed my eyes and listened to it all, but I felt surprisingly calm. Tonight was only round 1. The real showdown was still ahead of us. I had a gut feeling they wouldn't give up that easily. Just you wait. I have plenty of patience. I didn't sleep that night. Staring at the ceiling, my ears were on high alert. Past 2 in the morning, I heard quiet whispers outside my door. It sounded like people talking in very hushed voices. Holding my breath, I listened closely. It was my parents. Mom kept her voice incredibly low, but I still heard her clearly say, Dear, what if we take all his things away while he is sound asleep? Without his ID and admission letter, let's see how he can leave. Look, his bedroom light is off. He must be asleep by now. Let's do it tonight. Best not to delay. Suddenly, footsteps approached my door. My heart hammered, but I stayed completely still. Pretending to be fast asleep, I heard the doorknob slowly turn. Thank goodness I locked the door. Outside, Mom let out a quiet curse under her breath. This brat actually locked his door. Forget it. We will deal with it tomorrow. He can't escape. As the footsteps faded away, I opened my eyes. Staring into the darkness at the ceiling, I sneered in the dark. Just as expected, they had absolutely no intention of letting me leave. From the moment I stepped foot into this house, I had already walked straight into their trap, but they had no idea I was already prepared. In this game, who wins or loses is still undecided. The next morning, I tried turning the door handle. It was locked from the outside. My heart skipped a beat. I rushed over to the window to look outside. Blocking the window was a tightly welded security grate. There was no way out. My phone had bars, but they cut the internet connection. I used mobile data to text my roommate, letting them know I was safe. I told them I was okay for now, but things were bad. I asked them to stay on standby. Around 10 a.m., the door opened, and Mom walked in with some porridge. She had a strange, mocking smile on her face. Hungry yet? Eat up. Have you finally thought things through? I refused to take it. She set the bowl down and let out a sigh. Her voice carried a threat. Oh, Xiao Tian, let me give you some advice. A wise person knows when to give in. So what if you actually got into Tsinghua or Peking University? Your tuition and living expenses, who do you think will pay? Your parents won't give you a single penny. Without money, you won't even make it to campus. Won't you just end up crawling back to us? And that fancy college admission letter of yours, who knows if it even exists anymore? If you behave and listen to us, and repeat a school year, we will fully support you next year. But if you refuse to listen, she trailed off, but her threat was crystal clear. I kept my mouth shut. Once she left, I realized she had locked the door again. Just like that, I was officially under house arrest. On the first day, I managed to stay calm, but by day 2, panic started setting in, not out of fear, but because time was slipping away. My college registration day was getting closer and closer. I had to find a way to escape this place. On the third night, I decided to risk it all. 2 a.m. Everyone in the house was asleep. I quietly slipped out of bed. I used the nail file on a nail clipper to pick the lock. These cheap, old-school locks weren't that hard to crack. It took me about 10 minutes. Finally, I heard a soft, satisfying click. The door opened. I held my breath. I stepped out into the pitch-black living room. I groped my way along, heading toward the front door. My heart was pounding like it would burst out of my chest. The old wooden beams overhead creaked every now and then. With every little noise, I stopped and listened closely. Once I was sure no one was there, I kept creeping forward. Right as my hand was about to reach the front door handle, the lights flashed on and I completely froze. Dad was standing right down the hallway. He was clutching a heavy wooden stick. His face was pale, and he was clearly waiting. "Trying to run, are you?" I didn't waste time explaining, turning to bolt back, but I was too late. He lunged forward and chased after me instantly. Mom and Lin Xiaoxiao had also stepped out from God knows where, just standing there, watching. Nobody spoke up to stop him. When Dad finally stopped, he panted heavily and spat. "Let me tell you something, Lin Tian. You will never escape from this house for the rest of your life, unless you agree to repeat your senior year." I lay there on the floor, my entire body trembling, not because of fear, but from absolute rage. 18 years of holding back was finally about to explode, but I forced it down. It wasn't time yet. My evidence was still not enough. It wasn't the right moment for my final move. They dragged me back and threw me onto my bed. Once again, the door was locked. They even added a new padlock on the outside this time. It was impossible to break. I lay in bed, back burning, but that stinging pain only made my mind even sharper. For the next 2 days, I played nice. No more escape attempts. I just ate and slept peacefully, acting like I had completely given up. My parents truly believed I had been broken. So, they slowly started to let their guard down, but the door remained locked. I still couldn't get out, but I used those 2 days wisely. I carefully tracked their daily routines, noting exactly when they went to sleep. And when they woke, every single detail was burned deep into my memory, waiting for the perfect moment. On the 4th night, they finally made their move at 2:07 a.m. I heard the faint click of my door lock. This wasn't just them testing the handle. Someone was actually unlocking the door. I closed my eyes and breathed evenly, pretending to be sound asleep, while every nerve in my body was on edge. The door creaks open, followed by incredibly soft footsteps, like they're terrified of waking me up. 2 people. I can tell by their heavy breathing. One is Mom, the other is Dad. They creep over to my desk and start rummaging through it. I pretend to be asleep, but my heart starts pounding wildly. I know what they're after: my ID card and college acceptance letter. These 2 items are my only ticket out of this living hell, and the ultimate bargaining chip they can use to trap me. The frantic searching goes on for several minutes. Then, I hear my mom whisper in a low voice, "Nothing here. Where do you think he hid them? Keep looking. They have to be somewhere in this room. He couldn't have gone far with them." They yank out every single desk drawer. They tear through my bookshelf and ransack my backpack. They even pat down my hanging clothes, checking every pocket. I feel someone walk over to my bed and stand there. They're probably debating whether or not to search under my pillow. "Found them yet?" "Shh. Don't wake him up." Lam Tutu impatiently stomps inside. Her heavy footsteps are way louder than my parents were. Clearly, she couldn't care less if she ends up waking me. I can feel her standing right next to my bed, looking down at me with sharp, suspicious eyes. Her gaze is as ice cold as a venomous viper. I can almost feel her hot breath brushing right against my face. Then, her voice rings out. Low, eerie, and completely confident. "Quit playing dumb. I know you're already awake." Lam Tutu doesn't waste any more time. Instead, she rolls up her sleeves and starts searching herself. Her search is way more violent than our parents'. Books are swept off the shelves, slamming onto the floor. Drawers are violently yanked completely out. My ID card was hidden inside the inner lining of my pillow, while the letter was folded tiny and sewn straight into my suitcase lining. I honestly thought they'd never find them, but I completely underestimated psychotic Lam Tutu could actually be. She violently tosses my pillow off the bed. Then, she begins feeling it inch by inch, squeezing every corner as if searching a cell for contraband, not leaving a single corner unchecked, especially near the inner lining. Her hand suddenly stopped, and then she let out a thrilled shriek. "Found it!" My heart skipped a beat, but I stayed completely still. Next, she lunged straight for my suitcase again, dumping every single thing out on the floor. She ripped into the lining, the tearing fabric making a sharp, grating sound. Her long nails scraped desperately back and forth across the inner line. Finally, her fingers brushed against something hard hidden inside. I couldn't take it anymore and bolted upright. Reaching out, I slapped the bedside light switch on. Lam Tutu stood right beside my suitcase. Clutched tightly in her hand was an envelope. It was the very envelope where I kept my university acceptance letter. Her face looked as if she had just struck pure gold, pure greed and excitement. I stared dead at them, my voice freezing cold, demanding to know what they were doing at this hour. The three of them exchanged glances. They stopped pretending altogether. My father slammed my ID card onto the table, loudly declaring, "Let us get straight to the point." Tutu explained everything to us. As long as you stay here, she is guaranteed high scores. This is the shared destiny between the two of you. Just accept your fate, son. Tuthian, listen to your mother. Repeating a single year will not hurt you at all. You are incredibly smart, so you will easily pass again next year. And this way, Tutu also gets her chance at college. Our family will have 2 students from elite universities. Is that not a total win for the both of you? I already told you. Forget it. I stood up, reaching out to reclaim my ID. But Dad shoved me back, making me stumble and crash into the wall. The wound on my back flared with blinding pain as my father leaned close. His commanding gaze filled with threat. You honestly think you have any say in this? You are not going anywhere at all, without your ID card or your acceptance letter. You can forget about enrolling at Manhwa Recap. Your only choice is to stay home and repeat the year. Once you pass the exam next year, you will still easily get into Manhwa Recap as before. It will not set you back at all. I slowly took a very deep breath. I forced down the rising anger inside me. It wasn't time to show my cards yet. I needed more proof, so I asked them if tonight, they came here just to seize my things. My mom sneered, not even trying to hide it anymore. What do you mean, confiscate? Everything in this house belongs to your parents anyway. After all, you are still just a child. Your ID card is a very important document. What's wrong with us keeping it safe for you? I turned my gaze toward Lin Xiaoxiao. She was pulling my admission letter out of its envelope. Her face wore the smug, triumphant grin of a winner. She raised the letter high in the air. She brandished it like a prized war trophy. Then, she did something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. She gripped the admission letter tightly. Her eyes burned with a wild, crazed hatred. Right in front of my face, she slowly tore it in half. A sharp rip. The sound was deafening, as if something inside me had snapped. Still not satisfied, she kept ripping those 2 halves apart. She tore them until they were nothing but tiny, scattered pieces, drifting to the floor like falling snow. Her movements were agonizingly slow. That paper was the start of my new life. And just like that, she reduced it to shreds. Lin Xiaoxiao stared closely at my reaction. She laughed like a maniac. Your letter is gone. Let's see how you register for classes tomorrow. For the rest of your life, you'll only be my stepping stone. I want you to rot in this swamp right along with me. Her whole body trembled, her messy hair making her look utterly insane. Why do you get to be better than me? Why is it that everyone always praises you? Why do you get to go to Tsinghua or Peking? While I stay at home and listen to everyone's mockery? The fruits of your hard work should have belonged to me. Tears began to spill from her eyes. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were born from bitter jealousy, resentment, and madness. But in that exact moment, her voice suddenly dropped to a low whisper. She sounded like she was talking to herself. Yet, she was also speaking directly to me. Do you have any idea how terrified I was? Growing up, I always knew my achievements were completely fake. She admitted they were stolen from you, smiling twistedly. Before every exam, she was scared absolutely to death. Terrified that one day I would stop taking exams. Or terrified that I would do poorly on them, dreading that everyone would realize she was actually just a useless loser. Sobbing hysterically, she screamed that she hated me for being smarter than her. But hilariously, she actually believed that I never had to try to get such high, flawless grades. But I hate myself even more. Without you, I am absolutely nothing. So you can't leave. You have to stay here. You must be my stepping stone forever and ever. Only then can I keep on living. I stared at her, the person I called my sister for 18 years. For the first time, I felt she was truly pitiful. But being pitiful is no reason for me to forgive her, nor is it an excuse for her to completely ruin my entire life. My parents just stood aside, watching Lin Xiaoxiao throw her temper tantrum without a single soul stepping in to stop her. Their faces actually showed a look of quiet approval, as if she had done something to be proud of. Looking at this whole scene, I felt it was totally absurd and deeply pathetic. This was my actual family. This is the so-called blood tie, the family bond. I looked down at the shredded paper on the floor. My shoulders started shaking, making them think I was crying, assuming that I had completely broken down. My mother sneered, speaking in a highly condescending and patronizing tone. Oh, knock it off. What are you crying for? It is not even a big deal anyway. Just retake the exam next year and you will be fine. Just look at this as a lesson learned. Be a bit more obedient from now on. I did not say a word. I just squatted down, using my trembling hands to pick up the torn pieces. Lin, Xiao Xiao stared down at my miserable state. Her arrogant smirk only widened, telling me to cry. Cry even more. Serves you right. That's just your fate. I slowly looked up at her. She froze, seeing absolutely no tears in my eyes. Instead, she saw only an icy hatred and a fleeting dark smirk. That small smile actually terrified her. Instinctively, she took a step back. Asking what was so funny, I slowly stood up. Hoarse, but strangely calm, I whispered. It is nothing. I was just thinking, your little performance just now was truly spectacular. If you ever fail at life later, you could always become an actress. I didn't say another word. Instead, I faked utter despair and collapsed onto the bed. My eyes went completely lifeless. Mumbling to myself, Lin Xiaoxiao stared at my broken state. The suspicion on her face slowly melted away. It was replaced by the smug, gloating look of a victor. So, you're finally scared now? Why didn't you fear me sooner? My dad let out a cold snort, shoving my ID card deep into his pocket. All right, everyone go back to bed. From this moment on, this brat isn't going absolutely anywhere. The three of them, as if completing a vital mission, marched straight out of my room. Before leaving, my mom locked the door from the outside. The lock clicked shut incredibly softly, but it hit my heart like a sudden thunderbolt. I was locked in, the room plunging back into darkness. I sat on the bed's edge, listening to their footsteps fade into the distance, listening to the house sink back into total silence. Then, I stood up and walked over to the bookshelf. Rummaging through some junk, I pulled out my backup phone, the backup that stayed hidden. They never suspected. They had torn the entire room apart, but completely forgot to check the pile they mistook for trash. The video had captured absolutely everything. Lin Xiaoxiao's insane rage as she ripped up my admission letter, and my parents standing right beside her, coldly watching, even their ugly faces as they threw fuel on the fire, and the sick conspiracy they openly admitted to. Every single detail was caught on camera. First, I upload the video to the cloud, backing it up multiple times so it cannot be lost. Then I edit a quick, short version to post online, with a caption, "This is the toxic family that I need to escape." Once it is up, I call the police to report a crime. I am being illegally held captive by my family. The dispatcher asks for my address and some basic details. I answer every single question, and he says he will send officers, telling me to wait. After calling them, I quickly mute my phone. I hide it back in the clutter, then get back into bed. My heart is pounding, but I have to act totally calm. I have no idea how long the police will take, or what might happen to me before they get here, but I know that once tonight is over, everything is going to change. Time passes slowly, dragging by second. Outside my window, the sky is starting to brighten. My eyes stay wide open, staring at the ceiling. My ears strain to catch every little sound. At 4:23 a.m., I hear footsteps inside the house. Sure enough, it was Xiao Xiao. Her steps are incredibly light, almost as if she is afraid of waking someone up, but in the quiet night, they still sound clear. She stops right outside my room. I hold my breath, frozen. It is the lock clicking. She is coming inside again. I close my eyes, pretending to sleep. My heart is pounding in my ears like war drums. She walks over to my bed and stands there. I can feel her presence. Her eyes are staring straight down at me, filled with intense scrutiny and deep suspicion. After that, she starts pacing around my room. Her footsteps fade away and then draw close, like a wild beast patrolling its territory. I don't know what she is looking for, but I have a really bad feeling about this. Her footsteps stop right in front of my bookshelf. My heart tightens in fear. A rustling sound begins. She is digging through my pile of clutter. My fingers tightly grip the corner of my blanket. My brain quickly starts to calculate. If she finds my hidden cell phone, what should I do? Then, suddenly, all the rustling noises stop. The air froze solid. I could almost hear my heart thumping, beat by beat. What is this? Knowing she had found it, I instantly bolted upright. Right at that moment, I saw her holding my spare phone in her hand. A red recording dot was still glowing on the screen. Her face changed from utter confusion to pure shock. Then, it turned completely vicious. Wait, were you secretly recording me all along? She screamed, lunging at me like a crazed wild beast. I couldn't dodge in time. Her sharp nails clawed my face. Wincing in burning pain, I grabbed her wrists. The two of us wrestled frantically. Even though she was a girl, she fought like a maniac. Her raw strength was absolutely terrifying as we knocked over the nightstand, sending the lamp crashing down. It shattered completely, making a deafening noise. The loud commotion instantly woke my parents. Dad burst in and saw the chaos. Without a word, he shoved me back. "You dare hit your sister?" Clutching my head, I panted heavily and said, "I did not hit her. She attacked me first." Lam Tutu scrambled up from the floor. Her hand was still tightly clutching that phone. She scrambled behind Dad, treating him like a shield. Dad, he was secretly recording us. He caught all of us on camera. Haha! Dad's expression changed in an instant. He snatched the phone and stared at the screen. His face grew darker as the veins on his forehead bulged. You've got some nerve! He furiously slammed the phone onto the ground. The phone's screen shattered into pieces. Then, he stomped on it violently several times, until the device was completely reduced to a pile of scrap metal. I stared at the crushed phone on the floor, without a single trace of panic, because the video had already been uploaded to the cloud. This physical phone was nothing more than an empty shell, but I didn't show it, putting on a look of sheer despair instead, as if my very last saving grace had just been violently snatched away. My mother had also arrived. Once she understood what happened, her face went deathly pale. I am telling you right now, Lam Thien, today, this isn't over yet. You're staying right here. Don't even think about running away. How dare you post that online? You'll pay for this. He spat, before storming out of the room, but not before telling Mom to keep a close eye on me. Little Thien, you've disappointed your mother so much. Everything we did was for the sake of this family. Why can't you see that? Just think about what you did. She walked out too, locking the door behind her. This time, my father even blocked it with something heavy. I heard the sound of a chair scraping. I was left alone in the room, surrounded by total chaos. Leaning against the wall, I gently touched my swollen cheek. They had no idea the police were already on their way, or that the video had already been uploaded online. They honestly thought smashing my phone would fix their problem. They didn't realize the real storm was just getting started. Hours slowly ticked by. The morning light crept in. Around 6 in the morning, my dad's phone started ringing. A moment later, his voice filled with pure panic. What video? Who posted it? Then, my mother let out a deafening shriek, followed by Lam Tutu's loud crying tantrums. The entire house dissolved into complete chaos. I knew the video had gone viral. I lost track of time. Maybe half an hour passed, or maybe a full hour. Then, I heard a loud knocking sound. It was a heavy, frantic banging, followed by a loud shout. Open up! We received a report. Who reported us? Honey, what are we going to do? Don't panic. Hide the boy and tell them he isn't home. I listened closely from my room. Hide? Hide me where? Everyone inside, listen up. Open this door immediately, or we will be forced to break it down. Finally, my dad couldn't take it anymore. I heard the door open. An explosion of noisy, chaotic voices instantly filled. I couldn't make out the exact words they were saying, but I could tell my father was desperately trying to explain. Just trying to get this over with. A few minutes later, the barricade blocking my door was cleared. The door swung open, and 2 uniformed police officers stood there. The moment they saw me, they both frowned. The younger officer stepped forward toward me. You are the caller, Lam Thien, right? I nodded. He stared at the cuts on my face and my swollen lips, then shifted his gaze to the absolute mess in the room. His face hardened instantly. You are hurt. Who did this to you? My father. Officer, please. This is just a family matter. What is wrong with teaching my own son a lesson? The older police officer turned around to look at him. A family matter? You say? Unlawful detention and stripping someone of their personal freedom? You seriously call that a family matter? We received a call earlier, reporting that a family was keeping someone locked inside, with no way out. They sent a video too. Take a look yourself. How on earth is this a family matter? It showed my parents and Lam Tutu tearing through my things, and Lam Tutu frantically ripping apart my university admission letter. My father's face immediately drained of all color. My mother's legs shook uncontrollably, nearly collapsing to the floor, while Lam Tutu cowered in a corner. Her hair was completely disheveled, her eyes lifeless like a bug that had just been crushed. We need you to come with us to file a report today. I nodded and stood up, stepping over the debris on the floor as I walked out. As I passed my father, he suddenly reached out to block my way, but the officer immediately brushed his hand aside. Right now, you are a prime suspect for unlawful confinement and deliberately cause bodily harm, so behave yourself. His face looked like he had swallowed a fly, half angry, half terrified, and completely helpless. I did not even look at him, walking straight out the door. Behind me, my mother began to wail loudly. You cannot possibly treat your own family like this. We are your parents, after all. If you do this, how can we ever show our faces in public again? I stopped. You people never treated me like a human being anyway. Now it is your turn to feel this pain. You will regret this, Lam Thien. I will never let you off. Letting go, I stared at her twisted face and calmly said one thing. Lam Tutu, remember this well from today on. We are completely cutting all ties. Then, I got into the police car without looking back. By the time we finished the police report, it was already noon. Based on the video evidence and your injuries, your father is now suspected of intentionally causing harm and illegal detention. He will be dealt with by law. As for Lam Tu Tu, she destroyed someone else's property. Though the admission letter came from the school, it is still considered my personal property. So she must face the proper legal consequences too. But what about my college admission letter? Can I still get a replacement for it? The officer said I would have to contact the school, but they would provide all the necessary supporting documents. I nodded. Stepping out of the station, the sun glared. Standing on the steps, I squinted up at the sky, feeling like I had just woken from a long and dark nightmare. From now on, I will control my own life. I will not let anyone control my fate again.